Carl Icahn's name is synonymous with power, influence, and a relentless pursuit of profit in the corporate world. Over decades, he has earned a reputation as one of the most formidable activist investors and corporate raiders in history. Known for shaking up some of America's biggest companies and forcing them to change their ways, Icahn amassed billions and reshaped industries. But like any epic story of rise and fall, his journey was not without massive risks, controversies, and huge losses. This is the story of Carl Icahn's ruthless rise to dominance, the battles he waged, and the billions he ultimately lost in his relentless drive to win. Born in 1936 in Queens, New York, Carl Icahn came from modest beginnings. Raised in a middle-class Jewish family, Icahn was never destined for a quiet life. His parents instilled in him a strong work ethic and determination to succeed. After graduating from Princeton University in 1957 with a degree in philosophy, he briefly worked on Wall Street before venturing out to start his own securities firm in 1961. Early on, Icahn realized he was not interested in playing it safe. He wanted to take control, shake things up, and play the game on his own terms. Unlike the typical investor who quietly buys stocks and holds them for the long haul, Carl Icahn's approach was anything but passive. His strategy was bold, aggressive, and often downright confrontational. Instead of waiting patiently for stock prices to rise, Icahn took matters into his own hands by purchasing significant stakes in companies he believed were undervalued, mismanaged, or simply not realizing their true potential. Once he secured enough shares, he didn't sit back. He actively used his influence as a major shareholder to demand changes aimed at boosting shareholder value. This could mean pushing for sweeping management overhauls, advocating for the sale of underperforming assets, or even threatening hostile takeovers if his demands weren't met. His no-compromise style quickly earned him the nickname Corporate Raider, a moniker that perfectly captured his relentless and often ruthless tactics. Icahn wasn't afraid to shake things up, challenge entrenched executives, and disrupt the status quo in the pursuit of profit. One of the earliest and most iconic examples of Icahn's aggressive tactics came in the 1980s within the struggling airline industry. He set his sights on companies like Transworld Airlines, TWA, which was bleeding money and desperately in need of restructuring. Icahn's takeover of TWA is often seen as a textbook case of his modus operandi. He bought a controlling stake, exerted intense pressure on management, and pushed for dramatic changes. This involved forcing out top executives who he felt were failing, selling off valuable company assets to raise cash, and aggressively cutting costs to stem losses and improve profitability. While some critics lambasted these moves as harsh and overly focused on short-term gains at the expense of employees and long-term stability, Icahn's interventions often forced companies to reconsider their business models and operational strategies, sometimes leading to healthier, more efficient organizations in the aftermath. As the years went by, Icahn's reputation as a tough, no-nonsense investor only grew stronger. Throughout the 1980s and into the 1990s, he expanded his reach, taking on some of the biggest names in American industry, including oil giant Texaco, energy company Phillips Petroleum, and the iconic food and tobacco conglomerate RJR Nabisco. In every case, Icahn waged fierce battles to maximize shareholder returns, often clashing publicly with entrenched management and other powerful investors. He spoke his mind and didn't shy away from confrontation. This fearless approach made him a figure both feared and respected on Wall Street. Executives knew that when Icahn came knocking, he meant business, and shareholders saw him as a champion fighting to unlock hidden value. This dual reputation cemented his place as one of the most influential and controversial figures in corporate America. However, Icahn's aggressive tactics did not always lead to smooth victories. His style often sparked controversy and legal battles. Management teams resented his interventions, viewing him as a hostile invader rather than a partner. Critics argued that his focus on short-term gains sometimes hurt long-term company health, sacrificing employees and innovation in the process. Yet Icahn remained undeterred, believing that his approach ultimately created value by forcing complacent companies to improve. One of Icahn's more recent high-profile battles involved the nutrition company Herbalife. In 2012, he took a large stake in Herbalife and became one of its most vocal supporters. At the same time, billionaire investor Bill Ackman launched a public campaign accusing Herbalife of operating a pyramid scheme. This high-stakes clash between two of Wall Street's most prominent investors lasted for years, creating massive volatility for the Herbalife stock and intense media coverage. Icahn stood firm in his conviction about Herbalife's legitimacy, demonstrating his willingness to fight hard even against powerful opposition. Ultimately, Icahn exited his position, reportedly with a loss, illustrating that even the most experienced investors face risks. Beyond the high-profile battles that defined his early career, Carl Icahn's investment style has shown remarkable adaptability over the years. In the beginning, he concentrated heavily on industries like oil, airlines, and manufacturing, sectors that were ripe for restructuring and where he could leverage his aggressive activist approach to create value. However, as the economic landscape shifted and new industries emerged, Icahn proved he wasn't stuck in one lane. He expanded his focus to include fast-growing and dynamic sectors such as technology, automotive, and finance. This willingness to evolve with the times, to pivot his strategy and explore fresh opportunities, has been a key factor in his long-lasting relevance. Icahn's knack for identifying undervalued or struggling companies across a diverse range of industries and his readiness to adapt his tactics accordingly, whether through boardroom battles, share accumulation, or strategic partnerships, have allowed him to maintain his influence and continue shaping markets, even as the business world around him rapidly changes. This flexibility highlights not just his financial acumen, but also his deep understanding of market cycles and corporate dynamics, making him a formidable force across multiple sectors. Despite his massive wealth and influence, Icahn has not been immune to losses. Alongside his wins, he has made bold bets that did not pay off, losing billions in some ventures. For instance, fluctuations in the energy sector and changes in regulatory environments created challenges for his investments. These losses serve as reminders that even the sharpest minds in finance face unpredictability and risk. Carl Icahn's legacy is one of power, persistence, and transformation. He helped pioneer activist investing, proving that shareholders can wield significant influence over corporate direction. His interventions have often led to improved performance, better governance. However, his story also sparks debate about the ethics of aggressive investing and the balance between profit and broader stakeholder interests. Outside the boardroom, Icahn has extended his impact through philanthropy and public policy. Over the years, he has donated hundreds of millions to education, medical research, and the arts, aiming to leave a lasting positive mark beyond finance. He has also been a vocal advocate on various economic and political issues, leveraging his status to shape public discourse. Icahn's rise and fall story is a powerful example of the heights and hazards of the financial world. It's about a man who played hard, fought fiercely, and shaped some of the most important companies of his time. But it's also a cautionary tale about how the pursuit of wealth and influence can come with high stakes and steep costs. In the end, Carl Icahn remains a towering figure in the world of investing, both admired and feared. His ruthlessness, intelligence, and strategic vision allowed him to build an empire, but his story also reminds us that no one is invincible. The markets are unforgiving, and fortunes can change fast. Today, Icahn continues to invest and influence the business world. His experience and bold approach keep him relevant, and his legacy is firmly established as one of the most impactful and controversial investors in history. Thank you for joining this deep exploration into Carl Icahn's ruthless rise and the billions he gained and lost along the way. If you found this video insightful, please like, share, and comment below. What's your take on Icahn? A master strategist or a corporate shark? Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of power, money, and human drama. See you next time.